Okay, guys, here's another fanfiction idea I wanted to throw out and just kind of see what you guys think of it. And yeah, since it's the Halloween season and I haven't really done anything for Halloween, shame on me. Yeah. So as you can see right here, yeah, Star versus Dracula, as in Star versus the Forces of Evil versus, well, Count Dracula. This kind of happened when I was watching a marathon of Universal monster movies. Yeah, I kind of just started watching a bunch of Universal monster movies and started off with Dracula, and I had this fun idea of Star fighting the Universal monsters, and then it kind of got shortened down to just Dracula because I couldn't really think of anything of where to put the other monsters aside from the Frankenstein monster, but I didn't know where to put the Invisible Man, the Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Mummy. Yeah. So, although admittedly the Creature from the Black Lagoon, it does seem like a monster that Star would fight, wouldn't it? But anyway, so it got shortened down to Dracula, and yeah, the general idea was that Star's messing around with Jana, and keep in mind, this is after the events of season two. Well, the end of the Battle of Mewni, and Star's back on Earth. And she's just messing around with Jana, trying to get her mind off of Marco and his relationship with Jackie, excuse me. And yeah, they're messing around in a graveyard until Star comes upon a mausoleum, an unmarked mausoleum. She accidentally enters it and finds a coffin. And when Jana gets the bright idea to open it up to see who's inside, Star cuts her hand, and the blood drips into the mouth. And whereas Star and Jana leave, the the corpse that the blood dripped into comes back as a very withered Dracula. I kind of had the idea that what had happened was that after the events of Dracula, and Dr. Van Helsing, staked him through the heart, Dracula's body was taken by this group of cultists who were like this cult who believed Dracula's body could give them supernatural powers, and they took the body all the way back to America, and wherever the cult went, the body went too. And yeah, this isn't totally unorthodox, because way back in like the 18th and early 19th and early 20th century, there were aristocratic groups that would actually like desecrate corpses, like such as unwrapped mummy bodies, just for fun. And yeah, these kind of societies and groups would believe they would give them supernatural power. So eventually, having Dracula's body would be, kind of a score right there. But eventually the body ended up kind of lost to time, and the last people who had it just decided to put the body in a mausoleum and would come get it eventually. We'll come get it and get some supernatural power out of it. But no, Star accidentally woke up Dracula, and it's from there that Dracula makes this discovery. He makes this discovery that Star's blood, her human blood, actually can allow him to go into sunlight. And yeah, he finds out after he wakes up, he's revived. He already knows, wait a minute, this ain't 1897. Ooh, how long was I asleep? So yeah, he's now in the far 21st century, and yeah, when he wakes up, he sees the sunlight come up, and just as he's like, oh god, I'm gonna die again, that's great. Star's blood, thanks to Star's blood, he has a temporary resistance to it, and he's like, I have got to get more of this, I've got to get more of that girl's blood. If I can go out in the sun, if I can go out in the sunlight, yeah, I win. There's no Van Helsing, there's nobody here who can really stop me, so yeah. So that's kind of the whole story in a nutshell, is that Dracula wants Star not to make into a servant or completely drain her of her blood, because he doesn't know that there's a whole, dimension full of these people, of humans. He just wants Star to use his life. He wants to capture her, keep her alive just enough so he can feed off of her every now and again, and go out in the sunlight. Yeah, that's his whole plan. And he turns Echo Creek he wants to turn Echo Creek into a necropolis. But that was kind of the whole idea right there. And the problem was that it's an interesting idea. It's just how to do this without making it look like The Batman vs. Dracula, which is also a really good movie. If you haven't seen it yet, go check out The Batman vs. Dracula. It's actually a really cool show. I mean, a really cool movie that's based off of a really cool show. Anyway, so that was kind of the idea, and I didn't know where to go from the first chapter. I mean, I did have a few scenes in mind, like Marco being turned into a vampire, Jana willingly offering herself to Dracula, because admittedly, Jana would totally do that. You know it, I know it, we totally know that she would offer her neck up to be a vampire. Because it's Jana, that's why. And I did also have the idea that Star does know about vampires, and that there are vampires in Mewni, but they're vastly different from Earth's vampires. Vampires in Mewni are like these huge, hulking, bat-like monsters that are more, like, they devour people. They devour everything. They're like, like giant humanoid bats, but they not only drain blood, they drain organs. Like they feed like how a spider feeds, like how they puncture the neck and and secrete an acid that turns everything to mush and suck it out. That's how those vampires are. And they can go in the daylight, and they can be killed by any other weapons. Star's not really, Star doesn't really understand that these type of vampires are not like the ones from her dimension. And she learns very painfully. I also had some rules set up for this story, because Dr. Van Helsing isn't here, and Star had to dig deep into a library to find all these different tools on how to combat vampires. In this universe, the whole thing is that vampires here in this in this kind of story was that garlic, silver, holy water, crosses, they only work if you believe in God. If you have a religion, any religious object can work. The Star of David. Things like that. Different religious items can actually hurt vampires. But the drawback is you have to believe in that religion to combat them. And since Star doesn't have she doesn't worship God or any other, divine being on Earth, she's kind of SOL on that. And her, she believes in human gods, and that's kind of a problem, because they don't hurt Dracula or any of the vampires. So Star is fighting an uphill battle against the Prince of Darkness. Yeah, that was kind of the idea in a nutshell. Also, another thing is that when Dracula turns other people into vampires, they start out like a lot of the vampires, kind of like the ones from 30 Days of Night. I had this idea that what it is that vampires. Dracula has all his classic powers. He can hypnotize people, turn into mist, a wolf, create storms, all these cool powers. And however, when Dracula turns people, the thing is that vampires have to train to get those other powers. And Dracula's been around for a long time, so he's had years and years of training to do this. So that was kind of the idea, is that most of the vampires that serve him are a lot like the animalistic 30 Days of Night vampires, because they're not interested in really training their abilities, and Dracula's okay with that, because that means weak underlings. But anyway, so there you go, guys. That was kind of the idea. That was kind of the working idea I had for this story. Like I said, that was the opening scene was kind of as far as I could get, and a few other ideas here and there, but that was it. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of Star versus Dracula? Do you guys like it? Do you guys hate it? Comment below, let me know, and once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and once again, hope you all enjoyed it. Yeah, I already said that. Anyway, once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I'm out.